The complexity of this ruin was far beyond Xiao Yan's expectations. It was following behind Yuru, who had a map. The forest that was circling around accidentally provoked powerful monsters to attack, but fortunately, this feeling it lasted for about 10 minutes. The vision in front of him suddenly widened, and the figure rushed forward for a distance again, and a huge, ancient hall finally appeared in the sight of everyone. The whole body of this hall is in the color of copper gray. The countless years have made this copper gray appear even more profound. The ancient atmosphere permeates from under every stone slab on the hall, making people feel that the vicissitudes of silence for countless years. Looking at the gray giant hall, Xiaoyan couldn't help but shook his head and led Yuru to slowly drop to the 100 meters away. Since the emperor and strong man would build such a large ruin, he must have hidden it in it. It is also quite rich, and this trip is really worthwhile. Outside the gray giant hall at the moment, many strong people are coming continuously, but no one is the first to set foot in the 100-meter range. Those who can reach here at this time are either great forces or people with great abilities. Outside the hall, there are many mysterious runes flashing, looming as if forming a formation. These people outside the giant hall obviously also discovered the formation, and they are not in a hurry. Xiaoyan was naturally in no hurry. If there were no defensive measures for such a rich treasure, only a fool would believe it. While Xiaoyan folded his arms and waited in peace, he suddenly noticed that a cold gaze was projected. Immediately, he raised his brows and turned his gaze, and immediately condensed on the place where the cold gaze was projected. The owner of the cold eyes is a man dressed in gorgeous clothes, with a noble temperament between his eyebrows, which makes ordinary people dare not look directly at him, and his long flowing hair adds a bit of arrogance. Looking at this rather unfamiliar face, Yueru couldn't help but rub her fingers with Xiaoyan, but she didn't expect to see her here. This is the martial arts of Wuqing. Yueru whispered, "Oh, is it the person who has the most potential to win the great fortune?" Xiaoyan also frowned slightly. The late Samsung Dodi. He was actually 2 levels higher than himself. Don't look at this small second level. There is still an irreparable gap between the first level. The gap is very huge. Even with Xiaoyan's current strength, it is a little difficult to deal with. Xiaoyan is from this so-called martial arts. There was a sense of danger in his body. But Xiaoyan was not afraid either, and immediately turned his head to look at the people beside Wu Huan. At Wu Huan's side, there were many people, including Feng Liqing and his group. At this moment, this group of people obviously found Xiaoyan and the others, and their eyes flashed with a cold color. If the eldest lady had not been following Xiaoyan all the time, she would never have met that Solomon person, causing the eldest lady to be emotionally unstable now. Obviously, the self-destruction of the strong Solomon should not be underestimated, so they resented Xiaoyan. Xiaoyan's eyes swept across the pedestrian, and then suddenly stopped beside Feng Yi. There was a white-haired man with a long body and brocade clothes. This white-haired man looked extremely handsome, with a smiling face, which made him look extravagant, and at a glance, he knew that he was not an ordinary person. Is that the person you mentioned who was suspected of possessing the soul of the emperor? The white-haired man at this moment also glanced at Xiaoyan and smiled lightly. Well, and I can feel that the power of the soul is stronger than mine. Feng Yi gritted her silver teeth, rather unwilling. Their Feng Liqing has always been cultivating the fighting spirit of the wind and thunder attributes. In Feng Yi's generation, because Feng Yi is the only daughter of Feng Liqing, she is loved by the city owner. Feng Yi's soul strength has been surprisingly strong since childhood. A powerful 9th-rank pharmacist, so Feng Yi Master cultivates soul power, and his fighting spirit is weaker. After finally coming out of Fenglei City to the ruins, I saw Xiao Yin from the very beginning, so I had a strong interest in Xiao Yin. Even with Feng Yi's soul power, I could feel that Xiao Yin was also an alchemist. And the refining level is definitely not low. There are only a few pharmacists in Do Di Continent. In addition, Feng Yi often practiced in Wind and Thunder City and rarely went out. Seeing Xiao Yin, his affection increased greatly, and he wanted to find a suitable opportunity to compete with Xiao Yin. This is what happened before. Is it possible that it is an alchemist of the imperial rank? After this time, if you are lucky, it is not impossible to break through to the alchemist of the imperial rank. The man in white smiled slightly and said softly. Feng Yi also nodded slightly, although Xiao Yin vaguely made Feng Yi quite interested, but he was obviously more interested in the creation in the main hall beside him. What is that? Xiao Yin also disapproved, and then turned his eyes away. Suddenly his eyes lit up, and then stared at the hundreds of people in the gray giant hall. Several people who were originally staying outside the main hall could not help but be surprised when they saw this scene. Someone actually entered the formation in advance? Hundreds of people in the gray giant hall were bombarded by the sky-filled fire dragon and the black wind with unparalleled power. It was not discovered by Xiao Yin and the others who were outside the formation, because they were desperately resisting the erosion of the formation. After they couldn't resist this formation, they appeared in everyone's sight. It was swallowed in an instant, and not even the soul was left. The one who rashly entered the formation was led by a strong player in the middle of the Samsung Dodi. And actually, this formation is so terrifying. Those powerhouses in the middle stage of the 3-star Dodi were instantly swallowed up, and not even the scum was left. This should be a formation, the last protection to guard the hall. Damn it! The moment Xiao Yin spoke, the power in the formation condensed and attacked him unexpectedly. A milky white petal fell down, just in front of Xiao Yin, and then let the fire dragon that filled the sky, the black wind bombarded with unparalleled power. Boom, boom, boom. In the sky, the violent spiritual power fluctuated wildly. However, when the fire dragon and the black wind dissipated, everyone's pupils shrank because the milky white petals protecting Xiao Yin were not damaged. Slightest. Since everyone is almost gathered, then let's work together to break this formation. Fortune depends on strength. Wu Huan also looked at the number of strong people outside the main hall and said. Xiao Yan's palm trembled slightly. Even such a subtle attack made him feel an unbearable pain. With so many people present outside the formation, why was this formation only attacking himself? However, now is not the time for doubt. Xiao Yan's black eyes were burning. Quietly looked at the powerful formation with fierce flames in the sky not far away. Immediately, his slender fingers shone with milky white rays of light, and he tapped in the air, and the murmured voice spread. Yueru, come with me? As soon as his voice fell, the huge and strange milky white petals on his body also brought about the purest wave at this moment, which instantly wrapped Yueru, and then the two roared out of the formation. The huge milky white light, with a shocking white light, cut through the sky at an extremely astonishing speed, and led Yueru to disappear in front of Wu Huan and the living dead outside the main hall. The petals of the milky white lotus are slowly rotating, and the petals of the petaled lotus are blooming slowly. The whole world seems to be gradually dimmed at this moment. That kind of fluctuation is astonishing. In Wu Huan's blood-red pupils, a tinge of unease flashed at this moment, and he felt a death-like fluctuation from the enchanting milky white lotus. And he could feel that Xiao Yin seemed to have found a solution to this powerful formation. Follow them. Wu Huan took the lead in turning into a meteor and heading towards the formation. Afterwards, Feng Yiqian and the others also looked at each other. Go! The living dead also followed slowly. A charming girl also followed. It's fun now. Afterwards, everyone outside the main hall flew towards the formation, because everyone knew that it was only one step away from the Emperor's great fortune. The flames and the black wind in the formation frantically gathered in its big mouth, and the surrounding air became distorted as a result. Damn it! Where did the Xiao Yin go? When Xiao Yin and Yueru were just discovered that something was wrong, Wu Huan followed, and he could be regarded as the third person to enter the formation, but it was strange that Wu Huan lost Xiao Yan's breath as soon as he entered the formation, as if Xiao Yin and the others did not enter the formation at all. Puff, puff, puff. A series of voices fell, and the huge team outside the main hall entered the formation one after another. Damn it, we can't get out. There's no way out. Those who had just entered the formation couldn't help but find the strangeness of the formation. Damn, following Wu Huan, this kid has only one dead end. It's better that we didn't come in at that time. It's just, voices of dissatisfaction continued to appear. Obviously, these powerhouses began to back down at this time. Everyone is in a mess, since everyone is here to find this so-called great fortune and treasure. We have now entered this strange formation, and we are already grasshoppers on the same boat. Too much quarrel is meaningless. Why don't we temporarily form an alliance and break the formation? Wu Huan also looked at these people smartly. Since the alliance is formed, someone must take the lead. Who will take the lead? The living dead also stood up at this moment and snorted coldly. Obviously, the living dead and Wu Huan are also the strength of the late Samsung Dodi. This living dead is obviously want to fight. Why don't you just let me do it? Wu Huan also smiled slowly. Then a terrifying aura came out. The late Samsung Dodi. Many people present looked at this appearance and could not help but frown slightly, really strong. Just when the living dead just met and said something, suddenly from the sea of people, a trace of the same breath as the living dead disappeared in an instant, and then the living dead also closed their mouths unwillingly. Even he's here. The living dead trembled slightly. For him, the living dead were extremely frightened. Since all of you are meaningless, then let me be the temporary leader of the alliance. Wu Huan also watched the momentum and took back his own breath. Let's go. Then he said to the crowd. Many of the people who entered the formation were also powerhouses in the late stage of the 3-star Dodi with the same strength, but they did not fight against this martial arts, because they all knew that this temporary fight was meaningless. Everyone in the formation looked at this scene extremely nervously, and they could all see that the huge fire dragon in the sky seemed to contain a strong, murderous intent. Fire-killing palm. At this moment, the vindictive energy in Wu Huan's body was fully revolving, and the firelight and the black wind expanded by hundreds of meters in the ferocious mouth. In the next instant, his roar full of murderous intent suddenly resounded. Now that he has become the leader of the alliance, he must take the lead, and then he can only bear the brunt of Wu Huan to deal with this huge fire dragon. Boom! The sky inside the formation seemed to tremble for a moment at this moment, and then everyone behind Wu Huan saw 2 fire dragons and black wind dragons roaring out of Wu Huan's palm. The 2 giant dragons soared into the sky, intertwined with each other. The 2 dragons converged, the fire borrowed the wind, and the violent fighting spirit also expanded at an astonishing speed, extremely terrifying. People with discerning eyes know that this martial arts uses the palm as an attack and turns it into a dragon-shaped fighting spirit. On the other hand, it is staring at these people who have just formed an alliance because the martial arts is also clear, and it is really difficult to let these things in front of you without any means. People are convinced. Such an offensive is basically not considered the strongest means of martial arts. Everyone stared at the pair of dragons with shocking eyes. They were carrying extremely powerful vindictiveness, and they charged straight at the monster black lotus in the sky, leaving a long tail of light behind them. The bewitching black lotus, the last lotus petal, also slowly bloomed at this time. The dark light, like the darkness that erodes the earth, quickly gathered in the center of the black lotus. And inside the lotus, it seemed that a black liquid was dripping down. The deep dark light suddenly became powerful at this time. Everyone could see that the monster black lotus trembled violently at this moment, and a black light beam with a size of 100 meters burst out silently from the black lotus. This black light beam doesn't seem to be too violent. It is like a black thunder that falls from the sky, swept across the sky, and then, under the gazes of many nervous eyes, with the fierce roaring wind and fire double dragon, right bumped together. Boom! A gigantic Do-Chi light wave of nearly 1,000 feet spread out from the place where they met, and the space within the entire formation seemed to tremble at this moment. Roar! The two dragons roared and charged with all their might, and waves of violent and incomparable fighting spirit pervaded crazily, trying to disperse the falling black thunder. But what was shocking was that no matter how the two dragons galloped, the beams are all motionless, like a pillar of optimism running through the heavens and the earth, and cannot be shaken. Wu Huan watched this scene, and the unease in his eyes became much stronger. Although the black beam didn't have any amazing momentum, it made him feel chills in his heart. In the distance, Feng Yi looked at the confrontation in the sky calmly, and then moved her fingers lightly, only to see the black lotus in the air smashed apart at this moment, and then turned into a black liquid, blending into it. Into the black beam, wind and thunder fingers. With Feng Yi's shot, the black lotus dissipated, and the surface of the black light beam seemed to have a huge black lotus light pattern emerging, and then the long-hidden figure was finally exposed at this time. A deep, dark light erupted from the beam, and the demon lotus also made a mournful whine at this time, and then countless people were a little horrified to see it. The two dragons of wind and fire. As the demon lotus with flaws roared away mercilessly, the demon lotus actually had cracks appearing under the attack of the two dragons. Wu Huan's pupils also suddenly tightened at this moment. Boom! An earth-shattering voice resounded, and the black beam of the demon lotus was penetrated by the wind and fire double dragon, and was actually pierced by the wind and fire double dragon. Wu Huan roared in horror. He also did not expect this seemingly inconspicuous Feng Yi to be so powerful. And then he stimulated the fighting qi in his body, forming a huge spirit outside his body. Power mask. Boom! The demon lotus exploded. The black beam of light, however, ignored it, rushed straight out, and finally shot on the Do-Chi mask. The black light beam, in that scream, was ejected by Wu Huan's Do-Chi mask, and then hit a mountain in the distance. When the earth shook, the mountain instantly vanished into ashes. The entire formation was completely silent at this time, because they saw that when the demon lotus shattered and emitted a black beam of light, it disappeared completely, and not even the slightest bones were left behind. In that scene, it was as if he had been evaporated from this world. The violent, vindictive fluctuations in the sky also quickly subsided at this time, and the previous kind of shocking battle seemed to disappear completely. Let's go! Wu Huan also strode forward. The formation also shattered at this moment, revealing the true face of the hall. A heavy ruler and a slender woman appeared in front of everyone.